Our first reading for the Feast of the Triumph of the Cross, September 14th, is from the book of Numbers. The children of Israel are in the desert, grumbling at the desperate situation they're in. They're impatient, they're tired from the journey, and they're complaining to God and to Moses, "Why have you brought us up from Egypt to die in this desert where there's no food or water?" They're losing hope. The children of Israel are also us, remember. We're the children of the human family making our way through time. We have high hopes like them. The world we live in has high hopes, but then life can seem like a desert without food or water. Is there nothing to it? Are we going nowhere? Are we going to die? Our second reading for the feast is God's answer, Jesus Christ, who came from on high and took the form of a slave and humbled himself, becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. And because of this, God greatly exalted him and gave him the name above every other name. Jesus promises that we will live, that the world will live, even as we face death. In the gospel reading from St. John, Jesus makes that same promise. He recalls the Jews in the desert, grumbling, losing patience, and then cured of their lack of faith by looking upon a serpent held up before them. A serpent. He lifted up. What a strange way to be healed. Don't forget the works of the Lord. Our psalm for this feast says, don't forget Jesus Christ. Don't forget God our Redeemer. Don't forget Jesus who emptied himself and was lifted up on a cross. Don't forget the way he triumphed. His cross helps us. His cross helps our world to triumph over fear and unbelief. This feast began with an interesting event. The discovery of the tomb of Jesus and the wood of the cross by the Emperor Constantine in early 4th century Jerusalem. His builders were building a church on the spot where it was claimed Jesus' death and resurrection happened. Now, less than 25 years before this event, Christians experienced the worst of all persecutions under the Emperor Diocletian, who tortured and killed great numbers of them. He confiscated their homes and their properties. The church at the time was on the brink of extermination. Now, 25 years later, there's a new emperor. The persecution's over. He's building them churches, and they find the tomb and Calvary where Jesus died and the wood from the old execution place. It was an electrifying event. The whole Christian world saw it as a wonderful sign. The tomb, the wood buried in the earth so long, were signs of God's triumphant power. So they encased the tomb in a splendid marble rotunda. The pieces of wood from the execution place were put in settings of gold and splendid stones and carried to the ends of the Christian world, reminders that Jesus brings life from death, light from darkness. Lift high the cross, the love of Christ proclaim till all the world adore his glorious name. That's a familiar hymn we sing on this feast. Don't lose sight of this mystery. Lift it up. Don't forget it. Especially lift it up when the world like ours today is losing hope, grumbling, confused, unsure of where it's going. There's a wisdom in this mystery. It gives us courageous patience. It points the way to life. lift high the mystery of the cross.